MTN Sports, this is Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Welcome into the Bobcat Insider. Grace Lawrence here with Keaton Glogly. Keaton, let's start with the women. A 1-1 week for them. Their defensive disruptiveness really flashed, in that win over Northern Colorado on Thursday, but then a tough loss to NAU in Worthington Arena on Saturday, and they know where the top of the Big Sky is, and that's the Lumberjacks.
Right, and they're really, really close. And just the fact that they're even this close, I think is really a testament to the coaching staff, the coaching job Coach Binford has done, and how well these freshmen have continued to come along. Game and a half back right now of one of those top two seeds, 2.5 back of Northern Arizona, who's in first place right now. We got 3 weeks, 6 games to go, a lot to be decided, but they're kind of right there right now.
Yeah, well, that young core is definitely overperforming. I mean, nobody thought coming into the season with so many injuries that these girls would be able to do what they're doing. But like I said with NAU, they had 44 rebounds. They were a threat from the three-point line. Sophie Glancy, a threat inside. So it's really finding and maintaining that disruptiveness throughout the whole game. Now, an 0-2 week for the men on the road, a very tough road trip logistically and just in general, bit of a mixed bag from them.
It really is, right? And I'm not really sure if we should be excited with the way they're competing or disappointed with some of the leads they've given up. They had double-digit leads in both of these games this weekend through Greeley and Flagstaff, and they gave those up. They had a lot of lead time. They were in front in both of these games for a long period of time, and it's kind of become a habit of giving up some of these double-digit leads right now.
What I'm really seeing is giving up the lead. We've seen some great defensive flashes, like against Eastern, their most recent win, giving them their first Big Sky loss to Eastern, but then a 3-game losing streak is really tough.
Right, and I'm not really sure. Are we going to be an optimist or pessimist? We can ask Coach Logie that here in a minute, but right now the men are sitting at 6-6, and they are tied for one of those last seeds to stay out of the first day. So both teams with a lot on the line coming up in Missoula, which we'll talk about a little bit later. First, we're taking a break. When we come back, we've got head men's coach Matt Logie joining us, and then head women's coach Tricia Binford joining the Bobcat Insider.
Take coverage of the Cats with you. Download our app for your favorite mobile device today. Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
We're back on the Bobcat Insider. I'm Keaton Glogly with head men's coach Matt Logie. Coach, how we feeling? Long road trip. How we feeling going into this 1-game week?
Yeah, good to be back in town. Longer week of practice and prep, which is good for us right now. Get a chance to get back into the gym and work on some things. Yeah,
overall, we're into the middle of February. We got Cat Grizz on the horizon now, but how you feeling in terms of being an optimist versus a pessimist where the season is right now?
Well, that's the thing about roller coasters. They go both directions. And, we've got some work to do in getting back to the blueprint that's made us successful this year and getting back to just winning basketball.
Well, let's start on the optimist side then, the winning side of things, where, we have seen you guys build up some of these big leads. We've seen some double-digit leads during the last 2 games in particular on this road trip. What are you guys doing right when you are building these leads?
Yeah, I think that's the optimistic part of where we're at is, we're able to we've shown that we're able to play with anybody in the conference, so we can build leads and be successful. And when we've done that, by and large, it's been, sticking to our script, playing fundamentally sound basketball. And then for whatever reason, we've had trouble remembering that, as the game goes on and getting a little bit off script.
Yeah, so when you are seeing some of that where, the other team's making that run, is it just not executing the play call, or is it just or is it one of those more like kind of fading under the bright light situation?
No, it's definitely just execution. Both offensively and defensively. We've just had on the defensive side of the ball too many breakdowns, and we've got to be more solid in some areas, especially late game, and then offensively, we've got to play through our concepts, and we've got to play through the things that we teach and make smart decisions and execute better in terms of how we run the actions that we call.
Yeah, now you mentioned the defense, and I feel like we have seen some great stretches from the defense. The Eastern Washington game obviously comes to mind. It's going to be a big key this weekend in Missoula as well. Do you feel like this team does have a pretty high ceiling defensively? Like, we've seen some pretty good flashes, right?
Yeah, no, we've turned people over at a really high rate when we've been playing with high intensity and pressure, and we've had some really good defensive performances. You mentioned the Eastern Washington game, holding them to their lowest point total of the year. Northern Colorado is one of the best offensive teams in the league, and we've shown in both games an ability to hold them below their averages, and obviously just didn't finish that one on Thursday night. So I think that's the part that's exciting is, we know we can play with anybody in the conference. It's just about, shaking things up and getting back to the basics a little bit.
Well, and going into some of the individual performances on the defensive side, Eddie Turner had 8 combined steals this weekend, including 5 against Northern Colorado. That's a nice flash. It really shows what he can do when he's able to be locked in.
Yeah, Eddie and Rob are both very, very active defensively and are able to get in there and create turnovers for us. And that's been terrific, especially when they're on script. When you're going to double team or you're helping off the proper person, and doing it in ways that don't negatively risk our defense. That's great. And then at the same token, there's times late in the game where we need to be a little bit more solid and maybe be a little bit more conservative and just make them earn things. And so we're trying to find that balance within that risk-reward ratio.
Right. And so I imagine that's a really hard thing to kind of replicate in practice when you're trying to replicate the intensity, the time, the score, the momentum, the crowd. Like, how do you do that in practice?
Well, there's ways to create winning situations, down to 2 minutes to go or up 4, and situational basketball is something that you can practice and work on, but there's nothing like when the lights come on, and so you've got to get the game reps and the experience of doing it together.
Yeah. Do you want to touch on Brian Garacki? He really had a great first half at Northern Arizona. It looked like he was starting to shoot out of that slump a little bit. Did not score in the second half of that game. What are you working on with Garacki? How do you get him back to that all Big Sky level?
Well, in the first half, if you recall, we shot 50% from the field as a team. We had assists and put 41 points on the board, and Brian was the recipient of our execution. And when the second half rolled around, we didn't execute very well. We turned the ball over. And so therefore, you get less high quality shots. And so, I'm not concerned about any one person getting going. We just have to execute the things that we do. And the things that have made us successful have been, not turn the ball over, playing, organized basketball, and then, setting screens and making decisions to try to make our teammates better.
Now, this could be a pretty frustrating week, obviously, with the 0-2 trip through Northern Colorado and Northern Arizona. But even at the end of that Northern Arizona game, after you'd given up some of the lead, it seemed like there was a heck of a fight from your guys in the last few minutes of this game. Do these guys still have that strong fight in them? Yeah, no question. I mean, that's the thing that we've not had a question about this group at any point in time this year. And we know how to bounce back, and it's a process to grow, and you've got to learn lessons and then hold on to them. And so we've learned a few lessons over this season that have allowed us to bounce back and show some of our best performances. And unfortunately, in the last 7-10 days, we've kind of regressed and seen some of those same lessons creep back up. And so we've got to tighten the ship up and get back to Bobcat basketball. Well, great place to be getting back to Bobcat basketball. We'll be in Missoula this weekend as Montana State gets ready to take on the University of Montana. And in that first game, hot start. Their offense kind of got going a little bit, but it does feel like we've seen some better defense from you guys since that game. Sam Leck now has been a pretty big force in terms of rim protection. What are going to be some of the keys to slow down that offense? Because when they get going, they can be pretty potent. Yeah, I thought that was a pretty clean basketball game. On both teams, executed well offensively and had low turnover rates and shot the ball at high percentages. We had a little bit of a lull there in the second half, and to Montana's credit, Jackson Knapp and their backup big fella really got going. Sawyer got going, and so we've got a chance to tighten things up. And the one thing about Montana is, they're a veteran group. They know who they are. They're going to execute, and they're going to do the things that they have done consistently, which also gives us a blueprint on what we need to defend. And so I think we left some things out there in terms of the way that we wanted to defend the first time around. And we have a chance now to tighten up. And now you've coached at Dahlberg Arena before, but you've never been quite the Bobcat villain you're going to be coming up on Saturday. Boys ready to stand in the fire on Saturday? Absolutely. I came up as an underdog, so throw me in the fire, throw our guys in the fire. We're excited to go and compete. This is a group, like I said, that has bounced back from every adversity and really kind of enjoys that challenge, I think. And so going into a hostile environment like that is a great opportunity, and we'll do it together. Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. That's a 7 o'clock tip-off in Missoula on Saturday. We're taking a break. When we come back, Grace Lawrence is sitting down with head coach Tricia Binford on the Bobcat Insider.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Welcome back into the Bobcat Insider. Grace Lawrence here with head coach Trisha Binford. Thanks for joining me this morning.
It's good to be here, Grace.
Obviously a 1-1 week last week, but we can start with that pretty solid win over Northern Colorado. You know, you held them to 12 points at the half, a great disruptive defense game. Can you take me through the defensive side of the game that Thursday?
Well, we learned a lot from the first time, how Delaney Byrne and you got Hannah Smentel can really get going from three, and so that was a primary area for us to defend the three ball better. But then at the same time, their post play had really come on strong, so we wanted to do a great job keeping it out of the post, and really our team executed that game plan as well as any game plan.
Definitely defense not the most glamorous side of the game. How do you get your girls to get so gritty, get in the passing lanes and all that? Well,
I think, you know, as we've kind of found our identity going through the season, we've always started with the defensive end, and we recruit kids who are excited about the defensive end, and you know, that became a huge strength early on. It kept us in games as we were still trying to work through the offense. We had so many kids going in and out with injury who were such offensive weapons for us that we really had to rely on this at a whole nother level. So kind of the pride and expectation from everybody having each other's backs and protecting each other at that end of the floor. I think the focus starts with your upperclassmen. Our seniors are extremely bought in, and our underclassmen have obviously been that as well.
Yeah, you mentioned injuries fluctuating that roster, not having Mara the first time, but having her this time, just like we talked about last week, her presence in and of itself, having two girls that need to be on her, leave someone open. Did you see that a lot this game?
Oh, absolutely. You know, one of the things that Mara provides us is the ball just moves. You know, she's our trail post, she's our forward, the ball goes through her quite a bit. She's typically somebody trying to make plays for everybody else, and as we've had all this change, she's really started to produce more on the offensive end from a scoring standpoint because she knows that's needed. And I just feel like she's kind of hitting on all cylinders. She's getting teammates involved, she's helping us move the ball in the offense, but she's also starting to be really aggressive, looking at attacking the basket. But then on the defensive side, she's also one of our best rebounders. So just really, really a strong weekend for her.
Yeah, she worked so well with Taylor Jansen as well. Jansen having 17 points in that game. How dangerous is she and her game elevating this season?
Yeah, that two-man is pretty powerful for them. You know, we've got a rotation that's working where their chemistry is obviously building. Taylor and Mara have played together for 2 years now, and Taylor had obviously one of her best offensive games that she's had in her career. But really it was a matter of balancing Taylor inside, outside, facing up, going inside, out. She's a very versatile post for us, so we want to take advantage of that skill set. And, you know, I thought she had the balance of that throughout the game.
And we talked so much about Maddie Jack, but she had game high 19 points on Thursday. You know, you're a few months in, we're at the tail end of the regular season. Just how special has it been being able to share this final season with her?
Well, it's hard to put into words. It's first of all, it's just been super fun. You know, she's just a great kid. She's a tremendously giving, selfless young lady. That's just an amazing example every day for everybody else. And when you look at her stat line, you're like, gosh, we need to find her more shots. You know, really, a lot of times she's only taking 4 to 5 shots a game, 6, maybe 7. She's getting to the foul line. She's so efficient right now at such a great level. But then she's also taking 2 to 3 charges a game on the defensive end for us. She's just putting her heart and soul and her body out on the line for her teammates. She just loves the game. She loves this team. She loves our program, and she's a true Bobcat.
Just like you said before in the weeks prior, that defensive intensity is rubbing off on Natalie as you see her taking those charges as well. Getting a bit into that NAU loss, you know, Sophie Glancy having a career high 30 points for the Lumberjacks. What was so hard to guard about her?
You know, she's a workhorse, and she's super strong. She's really powerful, and the team looks for her. So you want to credit the rest of the team, because every time there's a drive, they're looking for a dump pass to her. Every time there's a ball screen, they're looking to roll, get the ball in her hands if they don't have the advantage. And you know, on the post up, she's just continually, they're moving the ball to try to get her a post up. And, you know, we just didn't do a consistent job as far as keeping the ball out of her hands to begin with on a post entry. We knew that the same thing happened 2 nights prior over in Missoula, but credit goes to her. She had a great game.
And then they also grabbed 44 rebounds that game. So can you take me through just their intensity when it came to, you know, crashing the glass?
Yeah, they crash, you know, and there's a lot of outside shots in, so you have to be really, really efficient as far as if there's a 3 ball going, you've got to find them before they get to the paint on the crash. They were very energetic going to the glass, but then also we just didn't do as great of a job of keeping the ball out of the paint on the penetration. And so when you're pulling second, third defenders into rotations, now you're trying to have an undersized player boxing out a glancey on the weak side glass. It's just putting you in a tough position. So I think for us, rebounding, everything starts with how do we defend the ball initially, and then give ourselves a little bit better advantage. And I think that for us right now is the key. When we rebound well, we play very well. When we rebound below average or poor, we're having a tough time finishing games.
Yeah, but you guys came out very strong. You know, Caitlin hitting that 3 right off the bat. How'd you feel like the pace of the game was this time around? Because that was a big factor we talked about last week.
Yeah, the game felt totally different than over in Flagstaff, and you know, I thought the game was super competitive. You know, we were trying to chip away. I think if we had a couple more shots hit, a couple more layups hit for us, 1 to 2 more stops, I think we could have tightened things up and maybe gotten on the other side. But once again, it came down to the rebounds. You know, there's just too many second opportunities. But overall, it was a really fun game for the fans. It was super competitive, back and forth. I thought we, you know, came in with a mindset on both ends of the floor, and the ball did move, and we had some kids step up down the stretch. Once again, I thought Jack had a great game for us. Mary Dykstra really was attack-minded, but that's the top of the league. That's the standard. There's a reason why they're there. They're consistent right now, and we're looking to get more consistent on both ends as a program.
And a chance, an opportunity to bounce back this week in Dahlberg Arena, the second Cat Grizz. How are you preparing that young core for their first road rivalry game?
Well, there's nothing like Dahlberg Arena, and I think that's the first thing you need to prepare them for. Is it's going to be very different as far as what the noise factor is going to feel like. It's not behind you. It's going to be for them, and we just got to handle the noise. We got to stay locked in on each other. I think the game plan this week is just really making sure we're focused on each other and getting ourselves to the next play.
Yeah, what's going to be key going into this one? They got hot off the 3 ball the first time around. So is that going to be a point of emphasis going into this one?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I don't know if we could have a worse start the last time around. So we definitely want to get off to a better start. And the 3 ball, you know, I think the biggest reminder for our kids is they have a quick release. They do shoot the 3 ball well from everywhere, and that was the biggest thing that our kids picked up so fast, is they thought they were there on the catch, but this team does really shoot it very quickly, and they look for the 3 ball. But obviously rebounding always seems to be a point of emphasis for us. And that's on our end. We have to rebound the ball really well there.
Definitely. Cat Grizz weeks are always fun. Yeah. And that young core, it's going to be really exciting to watch them, you know, and their away atmosphere for the first time. And coming up, Keaton and I will be previewing those games.
Welcome back to Bobcat Insider, sponsored by First Interstate Bank.
Welcome back into the Bobcat Insider. Grace Lawrence here with Keaton Glogly. Keaton, Cat Grizz Week. Now, before we get into the standings of the Big Sky for women's basketball, the women for the Bobcats have a chance coming into this rivalry game to match their longest winning streak in the series.
Yes, so if they win on Saturday, that would be 4 straight victories for head coach Tricia Binford and the Bobcats, which would match their 4 straight wins from just a couple of years ago in that 20 to 22 range. So right now, Montana State has the upper hand. Head coach Tricia Binford has been here 19 years. They have been dominating this series since 2015. And for Coach Binford, when she gets inducted into the Montana State Hall of Fame, these are the games that we're going to be talking about.
Oh, most definitely. And now getting into the standings, them and the Grizz both sit at 8-4. Of course, the Bobcats have that upper hand. They beat them in the brick back about a month ago. They're a game and a half, both of them, outside of that 2 seed for the Big Sky tournament, which happens in about a month. So what's going to be key is them keeping their composure. Obviously, an emotional way to end that game in the brick at the first time around. What's going to be key is that young core staying poised.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, but we did see Natalie Picton stand up tall in the fire in that first meeting. So we'll see if they can do it. They've done it once. Can they do it again on the road?
Exactly. And another team that's going to need composure is the men. We have to see them finish a game. The past 3 games have been tough for them, but it's a huge chance to bounce back against the Grizz.
No doubt. Coach Logie's been talking about this team trying to figure out how to build off success, handle success. Once you've built up that lead, can you continue to extend it and hold on? That's going to be tough. Now, the one thing, Sam Lekalot is going to be a new X factor in this game. He wasn't much of a factor in the first one.
Right. And what I really like about his game is he's a threat from everywhere. You know, he can knock down a 3, he can do things inside, and what's going to be key for their team, I think, as well, is that defensive intensity, keeping that up throughout a whole game.
No doubt. Montana got too much on the offensive side in the second half. We'll see if the men can lock things up defensively coming up on Saturday, and you can follow all the action on MTN with the women tipping at 2 and the men tipping at 7. That wraps up this edition of the Bobcat Insider. We'll talk again next week.